This is my 2011 Honda CRZ EX with a 6-speed manual transmission. It's Milano red. It has about 140,000 miles on it. And I've had it for a few months now. And I absolutely love this thing. But it does have some body damage and some paint fade. And since this is a car I've enjoyed owning, I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and give her a refresh with the paint. It has a Mugen kit on there, so you can see as you saw up front, I had the Mugen front lip. It has the Mugen side skirts and the Mugen rear lip. If you look at the paint fade here, you can tell that it did used to have the Mugen rear wing, but I guess the previous owner took it off. Not sure why, but yeah, you can see some paint fade here, some on the hatch, and then it has some body damage on the quarter panel. The side of the car's not bad, just that rear quarter panel area. And then on the driver's side, we have some fender waviness going on right here. Have a couple pretty big dings on the door. And then we have some small dents here on the hatch. But I think I'll be able to get this car looking pretty nice again. I did my own painting, which, saves a lot of money. And it allows me to kind of do whatever I want with the car. The front lip is in pretty rough shape. It has a bunch of rock chips on there. All over the front lip, you can see the chipping on the paint. And it did have a pretty big crack right here on the passenger side of the rear lip near the fog light area. And I went ahead and just put some JB Weld on there. I'm not worried about this car looking 100% perfect, but I do want it to look pretty nice when I'm driving every day, since this is the car that I use as a daily while my SI sits in the garage. But yeah, I wanted to do a pretty quick walk around before I start doing the painting process. It's going to be quite a bit of body work, but I think the finished product is going to look pretty good. Here is the progress of day one. Spent about 2 to 3 hours working on it. Just try to get the bulk of the sanding done. I was able to sand down the hood, the fender, the doors, the roof, the rear quarter panels, the top part of the hatch. Still got to do the bumper, the rear lip, and this little piece of the trunk. And then I was also able to get some body filler mixed up and put some body filler on the spots that need to be filled. Like I said, there's a bunch of damage on the fender, the door, that rear corner panel piece, this rear quarter panel as well. There are a couple other little dings that aren't too major. It's running short on time, so I'll just have to get to those spots later on. Most of these spots are going to need an extra layer or two of body filler anyways. I just wanted to get the major pieces done, so that way I at least have a little bit of foundation. Just threw on a bunch. It's like your first layer doesn't need to be perfect. As long as I have a lot of the bigger dents filled, just a little bit, it's going to make things a lot easier in the future. But that's going to be it for day one. I can't wait to get this thing all restored because it was in horrible condition. See all these paint chips, but I already started to sand it down a little bit, but this is when my sander started to give out, so I had to stop doing that. But I think this lip on this car, with everything all completely repainted and refinished, I probably have one of the cleanest looking dailies and one of the best dailies in my opinion. You get 40 miles per gallon. It's manual. Looks good. Drives smooth, really comfortable. Alright, so I've done most of the body work that needs to be done on the Z. And I also got the rear lip taken off. And the front lip is just sitting on the bumper right now. I could take that off easily. But I think I'm going to go ahead and get ready to paint the rear lip and the front lip, because I want to paint those off of the car. And if you also look at the headlights, you can tell that they are no longer crystal clear. I went ahead and sanded those down because I'm going to re-clear all of the lights on the car. Here are the front and rear lip all painted up. I have this little canopy with walls that I used to paint on the grass just to reduce the amount of overspray that gets everywhere. But I am pretty happy with the results. Pretty glossy. There's always going to be a little bit of orange peel when you're not painting in a booth with the most optimal conditions, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out. You can see that I went ahead and painted the little inserts on the front lip. I am going to paint those black once I'm done putting everything back together, but I felt like masking it off just to paint the red color and then, you know, having to go back and paint it black anyways later, it's too much work. So I just went ahead and painted the entire lip, and I'll go back and paint this black later. Obviously, like I said, this project is not one that's meant to be 100% perfect. It's just meant to make the car look good again. And I just want to say, this Milano red paint is really expensive compared to other colors. Usually I could get a quart for $100 or less, but look at this. Just the base coat, $179. That is expensive, guys, and that was only a quart. Most cars, you will need about 2 quarts of paint, pre-reduced, to complete the whole thing. I'm going to try to stretch a quart on this entire car, so I'm hoping I have enough paint. For most cars, you'll need about a gallon of total base coat. When you buy the base coat, if you buy it unreduced, then that'll be 2 quarts unreduced, because you'll mix 1-to-1 with the reducer to make a gallon. I'm going to try to make 1 quart unreduced, so 2 quarts total, or half a gallon of total base coat paint. I'm gonna make half a gallon work on this entire car. She's just about ready to go. She just needs a deep clean, masking, and we're gonna start spraying. All right, so I got the car here under the canopy, and the first thing I got to do is clean it. What I like to do for pre-paint cleaning is using invisible glass. You could also use like the Spray Away brand of glass cleaner. Both of these work fine, but they do a really good job of cleaning it if you don't have like degreaser, or if you don't have wax and grease remover, this is a good option. So I went ahead and got the front lip taped off for the fog light area where I'll be spraying black. And then the CRZ over here is also taped up. I'm not too worried about the areas on the bottom. I think the overspray won't be too bad, and if I need to, I'll go ahead and give it a quick scuffing to get any overspray off if there is any down there. Right. So here is the roof. You can see it's taped off. I have the windows covered. It's ready to get sprayed. And what I am going to be, the paint I'm going to be using for that, oops. The paint I'm going to use to paint the roof black. For the black color, I'm going to be using the Speedo Coat Jet Black single stage paint. It's a really good paint. I painted my black Civic hatch with that. I'm gonna get that mixed up, and then I'm gonna give the roof one more wipe down with the glass cleaner, and we'll be ready to spray. So I got my gun and the paint mixed up. I just want to say, when you're spraying single stage, or at least the Speedo Coat single stage, you want to lay it on pretty wet. You don't need to do a super light coat as if you were doing a base coat. You want to put it on medium wet, because
if you spray the first coat and there's a bunch of dry spots, a lot of orange peel, it's actually going to show up in the later stages of the paint as well. So you want to make sure that you spray it on pretty wet. Not super wet to the point where it's dripping, but you just want to make sure that there's not many dry spots. First coat is done. All I can say is that in terms of painting, there's nothing more fun than spraying a black single stage paint. I mean, come on guys. This is only the first coat. Just look at this thing, guys. This is the first coat. And it's already glassed out. This is a great paint if you're a beginner and you just wanted to paint something simple, black, single stage from Speedo Coat. It's a real deal. I do have the one that's slightly more expensive. If you have the extra money, I'd go with it. I painted with both variants. This one is a little bit higher gloss. But look at that. First coat. It's already good. I could honestly leave it like this if I wanted to. But yeah, like I said, when you're spraying this paint, you want to make sure you put it on a little bit wet. This is the results you're gonna get. You're gonna get pure glass out of your first coat. So I'm gonna go ahead, give it 15 minutes, and then I'll do one more coat. All right, second coat is done. We are done spraying the black single stage. As you can see, it turned out very nice. I'd give this result like a 9 out of 10. There's no reason for me to keep pushing it. I didn't leave any spots dry, which I'm very happy about. So there's no need for me to polish it. And I think it looks great as is. So we're gonna leave it with 2 heavy coats of single stage paint on there. Here's a reflection. There's gonna be a couple spots of dirt, obviously. We are painting outside. We're not painting in a professional booth, but come on, that's mirror finish. No reason to keep pushing it with clear coat or anything. Here is the black insert for the lips. The lip still has a bunch of damage on there, but I'm not worried about it. You can still see the rock chips on there. There's no way I was gonna spend 3 or 4 more hours just trying to fill all those little spots. It's not worth it. The lip should still look good on the car, and it's gonna get damaged anyways. The car's low. It's gonna be more rock chips in the future, and I'd be better off just replacing it and repainting it if I need to in the future, because the amount of rock chips that were on there was just ridiculous if you guys saw the before pictures. All right, so we're actually gonna go ahead and do the headlights and the taillights now. I already have these sanded down, and all I need to do now is mask off the bumper, a little bit of the fender and the hood. I don't think too much overspray is gonna get around everywhere, so I'll just use some paper to mask around, and then I'll mix up some clear coat and we'll get spraying. All right, so I got my clear coat mixed up here. I have about 150 mLs, not too much, since the lights aren't gonna need that much. And I haven't shown you, but this is the clear coat that I use. It's the Finish One FC 720. Brian from Paint Society recommended this, and ever since I've tried it, I've fallen in love with it. It comes out really flat. The gloss is really good, and it's really easy to work with. So if you're looking for a budget clear, that's one I recommend. It costs about 120 bucks on Amazon. So now that I have the clear coat mixed up and I already masked the headlights off and wiped them down, it's time to start spraying. On my gun with clear coat, I like to shoot it at 20 psi. Every gun is different, so try to figure out what works for you. So let's hit it with the first coat. Should be good. Don't need to go too heavy. Pretty good. Let me see it. All right, it's been about an hour since I sprayed the headlights and the taillights, and here is the final result. Came out very good. Not absolutely perfect. There are a couple spots of dust, but who really cares? Doesn't need to be 1,000,000% perfect. On the rear here, these came out basically perfect. Crystal clear. They look great. I'm very happy. All that's left is to get the car painted red. This morning I gave the car a wash. Now I'm going to start taping off the top section of the car, painting the roof separately. Yesterday made it a lot easier today to mask the car off. I basically just have to mask off the top half, mask off the cowl, and then when it's time to paint, I'll lay my plastic over it, and then everything will be masked off basically. So I am going to finish taping around. I'm going to tape around the mirror caps here. And then after that, I'll be moving this car into the garage because I'm not going to be able to paint this car today or tomorrow. It is going to be rainy tomorrow, so that's not an option. So I will be painting it 2 days from now. Today is Saturday. I'm going to be painting it on Monday. And so once this car is taped off, I'll move it in the garage so it doesn't get wet. And then I'll be moving my SI out. And this thing will be just waiting to get painted on Monday. So right now it's actually kind of windy, which sucks, but I do want to get this done today. So I'm going to take the chance on it. Since it's windy, my setup is looking a little bit more ghetto than usual. I have the canopy set up for the back half of the car, and I had to use random stuff to hold down the canopy so it doesn't fly away or hit the car while I'm painting it and ruin the paint. Here's the car, it's all taped off. I have wheel covers. I tried to get some plastic on the floor so that I don't paint the driveway red, but the wind is blowing it all over the place. I'll have to put something here to hold the plastic out, because I like to keep the driveway a driveway color and not red. But here's the car all taped off. There's some spots that I didn't bother taping off because I know it's gonna get covered anyways. And I was gonna jack the car up to make painting it a little bit easier, but I think I'm kind of pushing my luck as is already with the wind. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get ready to start spraying it. I'm gonna do a final wipe down with the glass cleaner, and then I'll start mixing up the paint. We're gonna do 600 milliliters at a time per cup. Let's give this paint a mix. All right, let's transfer. So we're gonna do 300 milliliters of the red here. Alright, now we gotta mix it. Gotta make sure you give it a good mix. You want that color to be very consistent. Looks about right. This is just to grab any loose particles that have landed on the vehicle, just to help reduce the amount of dirt that gets in the paint. Now, when you're not painting in a professional booth, you're always going to have dirt, but you can always do your best to reduce it and make your life easier later on. Alright, so one coat is done. I also went ahead and went to the spots that were primered black or that had some burn through, that I did a little bit of extra coating on there. So now I'm going to give it about 5 to 10 more minutes to flash. We're going to tack it down again and then go with the second coat. Just be wary if you have a Milano red CRZ or a Milano red Honda car and you're trying to paint it. You might have to get a little bit of extra paint just because of how transparent the color is. Another thing you guys might notice is that half of the car is in the shade, half of the car is in the sun. You want to avoid that if you can, but for me, just no way around it right now. So when you're doing that, if you're working in a condition like this, make sure you're wary that the front side, or like the side that's going to be in the sun, is going to dry a lot quicker than the side that's in the back. So you want to start painting from the back and work your way forward just to make it dry evenly, or like, you know, have it flash off at a similar time. But if you can, all together, either paint the whole car in the shade or paint the whole car in the sun. We're gonna do 500 milliliters at a time. So we're gonna go to 400 with the clear, and then 100 more with the activator. We're using slow hardener. Even though it's a little bit chilly outside, it's about 55 degrees, I believe. Slow hardener will help with getting a nice and flat finish. The only downside to that is that it'll take longer to dry, and it also gives more time for dirt and dust to get on the clear coat. But when you're painting outside, just accept the fact that if you want a really nice job, you're gonna have to wet sand and buff anyway. So I'd rather have to wet sand and buff out dust particles than a bunch of orange peel. Right. So the base coat needs about 5 more minutes to flash off. Then I'll go ahead and hit it with the tack cloth, and we'll start spraying clear coat. First coat is done with the clear. If you look closely, you'll see some dirt in the paint, but like I said, when you're painting outside, you have to accept it. I'm very happy with how the first coat of clear laid down though. It's very glossy so far. For an outside paint job, I'm very happy with the results so far. I went ahead and mixed up another cup of clear. I'll give the clear coat about another 5 minutes to flash, and we'll go ahead and hammer the second coat on there. It'll be a little bit heavier. The first layer of clear will help the second coat stick to the paint without dripping, so we'll be able to hammer it on just a little bit harder now and get a super glossy finish. All right, all the painting is done on the CRZ now. I had to go back and do one extra coat of clear coat on the hood because when I did the original coats, I left it kind of dry. And that is one of the big pros of using a slow activator on your clear coat, is that if you see a spot that's a little bit dry, you can mix up some more clear coat and just spray the part that needs to be coated again. You don't have to redo the whole car. The overspray just gets absorbed by the clear coat that's on the other panels. So normally, if you were to, let's say, paint the entire car and then 15 minutes later you realize, oh crap, I forgot to spray the hood, you can mix up the clear coat for the hood, spray the hood, and the rest of the car will be totally fine. If you're working with a fast activator or super fast activator where the paint will close really quick, that 10-15 minutes is enough time for the clear coat to harden on the outside just a little bit. So all the overspray that comes off, you know, all the overspray from painting the hood, it's going to land on, let's say, the door or something. And if that panel is already dried just a little bit, it's going to feel like regular overspray. It's going to be all dusty. It's going to look like you had some dry spray on there. But with the slow activator, you're able to spray the hood, and any overspray that gets on the fender or anything, it's just going to get absorbed and mix in with the other clear coat that's already on the panel, which is a really nice pro. I like that because a lot of times, you know, you'll spray the whole car, and then 5 minutes later you come back and look at it real quick and you realize, you know, you left a really dry spot somewhere on the car. You could come back, spray that spot, and it's gonna blend in with the rest of the clear coat just fine. I'm gonna go over the spots that I messed up a little bit on. We have this small to medium sized run there. That should be really easy to take out. But we have another single run here on the door panel. Have a hair. That's how you know it's my paint job. I have my own DNA on there. But also have this pretty big run here on the door panel, just because I was angling the gun at weird angles to paint the underside of the mirror here, so ended up getting a little bit too heavy on the clear coat. Got some run here. Honestly, not too bad. If the car was black, it'd be a lot easier to see the runs, but we're gonna get those fixed anyways, because I am gonna have to wet sand and polish the car just to get any of the dirt out. A big piece of trash right here. We have dirt on the hood, not completely covered, but it's what's expected when you're painting outside. Nothing too bad, but the gloss level I'm really happy with. There's no runs on this side of the car. It's because the sun is setting on the left side, so these panels have a little bit more heat, so they dry quicker and they're less likely to run. But this side came out really good. So I went ahead and took off the pieces of tape that were actually touching parts of the car that were being painted, as well as the plastic here on the windshield. Made sure to make sure that it wasn't sticking to the hood, because when the clear coat starts to harden, if you have anything touching it, it's going to harden those two pieces together. So if I were to leave these pieces of tape right here on the door, when the clear coat hardens, it's going to be connected to the tape. So when I peel the tape off, there's a pretty good chance that it would take pieces of clear coat off of the door as well. Something you just want to avoid. So any pieces that could possibly be bridged together, you want to take them off. But now we're just going to sit here and let it dry for a few hours. All right, so I'm going to start working on fixing the runs I have here in the driver's side door. This was the door that was in the shade away from the sun, so the clear wasn't able to tack up as fast and ended up causing a couple of runs on this side. But runs are fixable. I'm going to be using the razor blade technique here. So if you take a razor blade, you put some tape on the edges, it'll lift the razor blade on the sides just enough that it won't scratch the areas that don't need to be worked on. So you would take a razor blade, and you can see I already started here, and you'll just go over the
the run. Just go perpendicular like this and scrape all that extra clear coat off. So here I'm going to take this glazing putty and I'm going to put a nice layer over the area of the run, and what that's going to do is it's going to act like a shield for the clear coat around the area of the run, because what we're going to do is we're going to sand this down. It'll eventually expose the area of the run while protecting the surrounding clear coat. I did over here on this side of the door as well. So this is going to protect all the clear coat around when we're sanding down the run area. This side is a little bit thick, but it's okay. It's all going to come off anyways. So if you look here on this part of the run, I had the putty on the entire area, and now that I've sanded through a lot of the putty, you could see the areas of the run being exposed. I just have this little pad right here, and I started with 800 grit to get down the majority of the putty, and now I'm going to switch over to 1000 grit and keep going until most of the putty's gone, which I will then switch to 1500, 2000, and finish with the 3000. All right, so I have my 1000 grit pad on here, and then we're just going to keep on wet sanding. And we'll keep going until most of the putty is gone, and then we'll switch over to at least a 1500 grit. All right, it's pretty dark now, but as you can see, I sanded the rundown all the way. It's basically gone. You just keep working your way up in the sandpaper grits. Like I said, I would start at 800 to get the big bulk of the putty off, and then go up to 1000 there to get about 75% of the putty off, and then go to like at least a 12 or 1500 until there's just like maybe 5% of the putty left. And then after that, just do 2000 grit until all the putty is gone, and then you're going to finish it with a 3000 grit, just to smooth out all the scratches. I didn't want to get too aggressive. Some of the runs started right here up on this body line, and anytime you're doing wet sanding, you really want to avoid body lines. So I didn't push my luck. I didn't try to get all the run off of the top here. The part that was right here on the flat area of the door, I basically got that completely off. So now I'm just gonna keep working through the night. I'm gonna get the run off next to the door handle, and I'll probably polish it out tomorrow. Or actually, then tomorrow I'm gonna go ahead and wet sand the entire car with 3000 grit, just to denib all the little dust particles. And then after that, I'm going to polish the entire car, give it a ceramic coating, and she'll be all good to go. All right, so if you look at the finish on the car right now, you'll notice that there's a lot of scratches. I went ahead and I basically denibbed the entire car. It had a lot of little tiny dust specks on them, which you could feel if you ran your hand over the paint. So what I did to remove those, took 2000 grit sandpaper with a little pad on the back, and I went over the entire car just until all the little dust specks were out of the paint. So now it feels a lot smoother. I didn't bother, blocking the entire clear coat down just to get a super flat finish. The finish was already more than flat enough for me. I just wanted to get all the dust out of there. Rather than the whole car looking matte, you'll just have spots. It did knock down some of the orange peel, as you can see. All these spots here were just high points on the clear coat that got knocked down a little bit. But my goal was not to really make the clear coat entirely flat. It was mainly to get the dust out of the clear coat. Yeah, so basically we just exfoliated the clear coat to get all the dirt off. There were spots like this one right here where it had, you know, big piece of trash in there, so these ones required a little bit more sanding. And you can see the area around there is completely flat. That's what I mean when I say, you know, you could sand the clear coat so that it's completely flat, and then when you polish it, it'll just be like pure glass. But that's not really what I'm going for. Doing that would also take off a lot of the clear coat. And this isn't going to be a show car or anything. This is literally just my daily driver. Let's see, here's the driver's side. Here's the driver's side door. Things gonna look pretty good. All right, so I have the CRZ in the garage because it's raining right now. But right now, I'm gonna start polishing the car. I just have to wipe it down, get all the water off, and then we'll start polishing. So here's the setup. I have my DA polisher here, and I'm using a yellow foam pad from SPTA. I've used these before. I like them. I use this yellow pad for compound, and I use the blue pad for polishing. This is the cutting compound that I'm going to be using. I use the 3D ACA 500. It's supposed to cut all the way down to P1000. I sanded the car with 2000 and 3000 grits, so it should cut through the scratches just fine. I'm going to start on this quarter panel here. If you look closely, you'll see the sanding marks. So like I said, I didn't block sand it all the way down so that the clear coat was smooth. I mostly just quickly grazed over it to remove any dust and to knock down the super high points. So it will help with the orange peel just a little bit, but the car didn't have much orange peel anyways. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start on this panel. I'm gonna put the GoPro headband on, and hopefully you guys could see a time lapse. So what I'm going to do is start putting the trim pieces back on. So I have these window trim pieces, the window molding, and then the drip moldings on the roof. And after that, all I have to do is put the front and rear lip back on, and the paint job will be done. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is some more polishing of the car. The original polishing I did wasn't aggressive enough. There are still some matte spots that I could see, and there's a lot of scratches left over. So I went ahead and purchased some new microfiber pads. These should be a little bit more aggressive, and it should help me cut through those scratches a little bit quicker.
All right, so now we're going to be switching to the polish. Be using this blue pad. I hate polishing. It's a lot of work, takes forever, but has to get done. Hopefully the end product is very nice. Here is the finished product of the paint job and the compounding polishing. Just explaining what happened. So I painted the car, and then, like I said, I sanded it just a little bit to get all the dust off. But when I initially went to buff it, the pad I was using was not aggressive enough. So I finished buffing with that pad, and then I realized the scratches from the sanding were still pretty prominent. So I ordered some different pads, microfiber pads, and those did the job a lot better. Gave me an aggressive enough cut that I was actually able to get rid of most of the scratches. So buffed with the microfiber and then polished with that blue pad. And now this thing looks stunning. I'm very happy with the result. The car is obviously not perfect, but that was not my intention with this paint job. Has an OEM level of orange peel on there. Has an OEM amount of orange peel. The roof is a lot flatter, not much orange peel at all on the roof. So I just went ahead and sprayed it with this Total Wax ceramic spray coating to give it some protection for a few months. We are basically done with the car. Here is the final walk around. Hope you guys enjoyed watching me work on the car. I'm gonna have some more videos about the CRZ coming soon, so stay tuned. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned for more CRZ content. I'll have a couple more videos coming very soon for the car. Not many people make content about the CRZ, so I'm more than happy to post as much content as I can about it. If you're interested in watching more CRZ content, go ahead and subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed watching.